Hi everyone. In this video, we'll practice 6 medication dosage calculation problems with oral medications using the formula method. Let's get started. As a quick review, to use the formula method for dosage calculation, you fill in the components of the formula and solve. First, you need to know the desired dose. This would be the dose prescribed. Then you would need to know the dose that is available, what was sent up to be administered. Then you need to know the quantity. This is the form and amount in which the drug is supplied, tablets, capsules, liquid. You take the desired amount, divide it by the amount on hand, and then multiply it by the quantity. This gives you the dose to administer. For the first practice problem, the order is ibuprofen, 300 milligrams PO every 6 hours. The medication supplied is ibuprofen 100 milligram tablets. How many tablets will you administer? Start by placing the quantity of the medication in the formula. In this case, the medication is a 100 milligram tablet, so the form is 1 tablet. Then we identify what dose you have. The dose is 100 milligrams. Place that number in the formula where it says have. Then you need to identify the dose you want to administer, which is what was ordered. In this example, the dosage is 300 milligrams. Place that value in the top part of the formula. Now you can calculate the number of tablets to administer. 300 divided by 100 equals 3. 3 times 1 is 3. You would administer 3 tablets to equal the 300 milligram dose. Always review your answer to make sure it makes sense. In this case, if each tablet is 100 milligrams and you administer 3 tablets, 3 times 100 equals 300 milligrams. Let's complete another calculation. The medication order is prednisolone 40 milligrams PO daily. The medication supplied is prednisolone 5 milligram tablets. How many tablets should you administer? The quantity or form is 1 tablet. Place that in the formula. The desired or prescribed amount is 40 milligrams. Place that in the formula. The dose you have available is 5 milligrams. Place that in the formula. Solve for the number of tablets to be administered. 40 divided by 5 is 8. Multiply that by 1. You would administer 8 tablets. Always review your answer to make sure it makes sense. Multiply 8 tablets times 5 milligrams equals 40 milligrams. Let's complete another calculation. The medication order is metformin 1000 milligrams PO twice a day. The medication supplied is metformin 500 milligram tablets. How much should you administer? The quantity or form of the medication is 1 tablet. Place that in the formula. The desired or prescribed amount is 1000 milligrams. Place that in the formula. The dose you have available is 500 milligrams. Place that in the formula. Solve for the number of tablets to be administered. 1000 divided by 500 is 2. Multiply that by 1. You would administer 2 tablets. Always review your answer to make sure it makes sense. 500 milligram tablets times 2 equals 1000 milligrams. Now, let's calculate another order. The medication order is lisinopril, 15 milligrams PO daily. The medication supplied is lisinopril 10 milligram tablets. How much should you administer? The quantity or form of the medication is 1 tablet. Place that in the formula. The desired or prescribed amount is 15 milligrams of lisinopril. Place that number in the formula for the desired dose. The dose you have available is 10 milligrams. Place that in the formula. Now solve for the amount of medication to be administered. 15 divided by 10 is 1.5. Multiply that by 1. You would administer 1.5 tablets. Always review your answer to make sure it makes sense. 1.5 times 10 milligram tablets equals 15 milligrams. Now, let's calculate a weight-based order. The medication order is Coumadin 0.1 milligrams per kilogram, one-time oral dose. The medication supplied is Coumadin 2 milligram tablets. The patient weighs 70 kilograms. The quantity or form of the medication is 1 tablet. Place that in the formula. The desired or prescribed amount is 0.1 milligram per kilogram. You need to calculate the amount of medication to administer based on the patient's weight. The patient weighs 70 kilograms. For every kilogram, the patient should receive 0.1 milligrams of the medication. 70 times 0.1 equals 7 milligrams. The amount of medication order based on the patient's weight is 7 milligrams. Place that number in the formula for the desired. The dose you have available is 2 milligrams. Place that in the formula. Solve for the amount of medication to be administered. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. Multiply that by 1. You would administer 3.5 tablets. Always review your answer to make sure it makes sense. 3.5 times 2 milligrams equals 7 milligrams. Now let's calculate a weight-based order that requires a conversion. The medication order is amoxicillin, 25 milligrams per kilogram per day, divided every 12 hours. The medication supplied is amoxicillin, 250 milligrams for every 5 milliliters of the suspension. The patient's weight is 154 pounds. How much should you administer? When you read this order, 2 aspects stand out as requiring additional attention. The first aspect, the order is written as 25 milligrams per kilogram, but the patient's weight is recorded in pounds. You must convert the pounds to kilograms. To complete the conversion, place the weight in pounds as a fraction over 1, 154 pounds over 1. Then you want to multiply that by the conversion factor, which is 1 kilogram equals 2.2 pounds. The pounds cancel out, leaving the weight in kilograms. 154 divided by 2.2 equals 70 kilograms. Now you will use the 70 kilogram weight when calculating the amount of medication to administer. Now you can fill in the formula. The quantity or form of the medication is 5 milliliters. Place that in the formula. The prescribed amount is 25 milligrams per kilogram. You need to calculate the amount of medication to administer based on the patient's weight. The patient's weight is 70 kilograms. For every kilogram, the patient should receive 25 milligrams of the medication. 70 times 25 equals 1750 milligrams. The amount of medication order based on the weight is 1,750 milligrams. However, the second thing that's different about this order is that it states the doses divided into 2. The dose is administered twice a day. 1750 divided by 2 is 875 milligrams. Place that number in the formula for the desired. The dose you have available is 250 milligrams. Place that in the formula. Solve for the amount of medication to be administered. 875 divided by 250 is 3.5. Multiply that by 5. You would administer 17.5 milliliters of oral suspension. Always review your answer to make sure it makes sense. You need to administer 875 milligrams of medication. There are 250 milligrams in 5 milliliters. You can see that you will need a little more than 3 times the dose. 250 times 3 equals 750. That would mean you need a little bit more than 15 milliliters. Your answer of 17.5 milliliters makes sense. Practice makes precision. Keep on practicing to build your confidence. In the next video, you will find practice problems for medications that are injected, utilizing the formula technique for dosage calculations. The more you practice, the more confident you will become. Thanks for watching. If this video was helpful, give it a like, share it with your classmates or coworkers, and subscribe for more nursing education content. You can find more videos at nursevideohub.com. Watch, learn, and care.